Welcome back. Today we're going to learn how to describe a bar chart by using some useful language for making comparisons. Let's begin by looking at a very basic bar chart. So pause the video if necessary to study this chart more carefully. Bar charts are commonly used to represent categorical data, where data is grouped into distinct categories. In this example, we can see different categories of film genres. Each bar stands for a distinct category, i.e. action, comedy, thriller, science fiction, western, and romantic comedy. The vertical axis represents a percentage of men who said that they liked that particular genre. As you can see, 40% of men choose to watch action films, but only 20% of them say that they like comedies. 15% like thrillers, and 10% each voted for sci-fi and western films, while romantic comedy is the least popular one, with only 5% of men. Now that we've understood what the bar chart shows, let's look at some useful language for making comparisons. There's a variety of useful ways of doing this, and the first and the most common one is by using comparative and superlative adjectives. This is perhaps the easiest way for making comparisons. So here's some example sentences. So we could say, many more men like action films than comedies. Or, slightly fewer men like thrillers than comedies. Or, romantic comedy is the least preferred genre by men. Another very useful way to make comparisons is by using X is not as plus adjective as Y. So here's one example. Comedy is not as enjoyable as action for men. For men, science fiction is not as popular as comedy. Please note that we use an adjective in its base form here, right? We don't change it to a comparative or superlative form. Also note that you can use this structure to say that two things are equal. If you want to do this, you need to drop not. Okay? For example, men seem to enjoy science fiction as much as Western movies. In this example, equal proportion of men enjoy science fiction as Western movies. So, they are both equally popular. We can also use numerical comparatives, such as 2 times, 3 times, half and twice, etc. For example, action films are twice or 2 times as popular as comedies for men. Thrillers are 3 times as popular as romantic comedies. Or, we could say, science fiction films and westerns are only half as popular as comedies among men. In this very last example, comedies are 2 times more popular than science fiction films or westerns. If the difference between the two categories is big, you can use phrases such as nowhere near as or not nearly as. For instance, science fiction films are nowhere near as popular as actions for men. Western films are not nearly as popular as action films. So the difference between these two is huge. If the difference is small, you can use almost as. For example, thrillers are almost as popular as comedies for men. One more way to compare information is by using linkers, such as while, whereas, compared to, and as opposed to. For example, we might say that action is the most popular genre for men, while romantic comedy is the least popular. 40% of men like action films, as opposed to only 5% who enjoy romantic comedies. Another example, compared to comedies, action films seem to appeal to 2 times more men. Next, let's have a look at another bar chart. So this chart shows 8 honeymoon destinations for British couples in 2010. You may pause the video now to study the chart more closely. Next, by using the language you've just learned in this video, try to make some sentences comparing the information given in the chart. Now pause the video to do this exercise by yourself, before I show you a few of my own examples. Here's some possible ways to compare the information in the chart. So, I'll give you 3 examples. Thailand and Bali were the 2 most popular destinations for British couples. Costa Rica was only half as popular as Thailand for British couples. And twice more tourists from Britain visited the Greek islands than Paris. Of course, your examples may differ from mine, so this is just to give you an idea. This is it for this video. Now, you know some very useful language for making comparisons, which you can start using immediately. So go ahead and do more practice with the language you've just learned. You will find that there is a worksheet that goes together with this video. It will give you more practice. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.